before writing the actual content. Instead, you can scroll down to the SERP overview table for a given keyword and click on Identify Intents. This will tell you in simple terms what people are actually looking for when searching for a keyword. Use them as hints as to what content angles to cover. You can go all in on the top search intent or target multiple ones in the same article. The choice is yours. Fast forward, you already wrote an article based on the previous keyword research. It's ranking, hooray! But you can do better. What kind of optimizations should you start with though? Just plug in the article's URL into our AI content grader, along with its primary keyword and target country, and voila! Our tool will automatically identify the main subtopics covered by the top 3 ranking articles, compare them side by side, and score them on a scale to see how well or bad you've covered them. You'll also get suggestions on how to best strengthen your article for each subtopic with real-life examples of the words and phrases used. Alright, you're crushing it with your English blog. Your next big step is to localize your content. Normally, you'd have to hire experienced and expensive translators, make sure the translated keywords are localized properly, and create a localized content plan. What a mess! With Ahrefs' AI translation feature, you only need to select a preferred language or dialect and hit Translate. We'll not only translate your saved keyword list, but provide translated alternatives for each keyword, so you can choose the version with the highest search volume. Are you more of a technical SEO rather than a content marketer? Say no more. With patches, you'll soon be able to create fixes with the help of AI and push them by yourself, right within Site Audit, with no developers needed. And there are also a handful of other AI-powered tools made by Ahrefs. Word Counter goes beyond counting characters and words and helps you extract keywords and entities out of a paragraph for SEO purposes. And we also got over 40 standalone AI writing tools, which are primarily designed for various copywriting tasks, not just SEO related ones. So go ahead, try these Ahrefs AI features and ace your SEO and marketing tasks today.
Ever done a site audit only to find out there's 100 issues to fix? So now you have to export issues, add fixing instructions, pass everything to your developers, and then have to hunt them down over the next 2 months to make sure everything.
Need some help with your daily SEO tasks? Ace them with Ahrefs AI features. Let's start with keyword research. Quite challenging if you don't know where to start, right? Don't worry, get unstuck with the Ask AI feature in Keywords Explorer. Just choose from a list of presets, type in a seed keyword, and you'll get a bunch of uncommon keywords that both you and your competitors might have never thought of. Did I mention this took us less than 5 seconds? The best part, you can also generate keyword ideas in other languages, as long as you add in your desired language at the end of the initial keyword. Great! So you now have a list of potential keywords. But you still have to manually check the top results for each keyword to determine their search intent before writing the actual content. Instead, you can scroll down to the SERP overview table for a given keyword and click on Identify Intents. This will tell you in simple terms what people are actually looking for when searching for a keyword. Use them as hints as to what content angles to cover. You can go all in on the top search intent or target multiple ones in the same article. The choice is yours. Fast forward, you already wrote an article based on the previous keyword research. It's ranking, hooray! But you can do better. What kind of optimizations should you start with though? Just plug in the article's URL into our.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing? My name is Gordon, I'm a product marketer here at Ahrefs. I am joined in the chat by my lovely colleague Michelle. She'll be here helping fielding some questions you've got during the chat. As always, we will pick some maybe interesting questions throughout the presentation that we want to answer, but generally we'll leave most to the end. So yeah, to kick things off, love to hear in the chat where you're from, what kind of role you're working in, and what kind of experience you have. Oh my goodness, there is something over my face. Right. Everyone give us a wave. Everyone feeling shy today? I'm not seeing a lot in the messages. Thanks, Matt. Marco from California. Ohio, okay. Vitaly, will this webinar be available for a rewatch later? No, this is a one-time thing, then it's gone. Of course, yeah, I'm joking. We will send you the recording, as we always do, and it will actually be on our YouTube channel for posterity for you to watch whenever you like. Philippines, Washington, okay. Minnesota, we got a good US contingent with us. And if you want to dump in there your job roles, or if you've got experience with Ahrefs, that'll be interesting as well. I think there's always a bit of lag on this chat, which is always fun for me. Okay. Well, while we're waiting on those conversations coming in, I will cover what we're going to talk about today. Measuring the impact of AI with Ahrefs. So AI and search, as we all know, it's a very hot topic. I think we're all being asked to, from different perspective, what's our plan? What's the impact going to be? How are we going to build strategies around it? And there's a lot of unknowns. But I think one of the core things sometimes we overlook is, first of all, addressing what is the impact? Is it having an impact? And how can we measure that? And that's really what we want to address today. So the agenda for today is we're going to just talk about the great decoupling between impressions and traffic, where people are actually discovering you, because those searches are not going away. People are still searching. AI visibility tools and Ahrefs, how we can help you measure the impact and discover different ways you're being talked about in AI tools. And then finally, we are going to touch on this, but it's not going to be a full webinar. We're going to talk about some of the ways you can get mentioned by AI. Now, this could be a whole series of webinars, so we do not plan to go into this into any great detail. We're going to cover a couple of tips on this and then give you some supporting information. Our team have done some really good work on this, and we will probably do a dedicated webinar on this at some point in the near future. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back into the chat. We have a mix of content marketers, growth marketers, SEO specialists, account managers using Ahrefs, and quite a lot of Ahrefs experience. Okay, that's great. So yeah, you guys are in for a treat. We're going to go through some of the tools you can use to measure your impact on AI. So let's start with the elephant in the room. The great decoupling. Really, the problem is that most of our Google search consoles have started to look like this. And this is what I think a lot in the SEO are calling the great decoupling, where impressions, that line in purple, is going up, but traffic, that line in blue, is going down. Showing people are still seeing your brand, but they're not coming to your website. And this is a big problem for a lot of us that have built reporting metrics based on the amount of traffic growth over time. And in some cases, it's a crisis for some businesses that rely on that traffic for ad spend. So we're going to talk about how do we measure that, who's responsible. I think we know who responsible is, and what we can do about it. So the culprit, the big culprit, amongst many things, is AI overviews. They have become more common across all sorts of search, and basically people get what they want and they leave without ever entering your website. I think when they first rolled out, they tended to be for long tail keywords or more informational keywords, things about things that were really pulled from Wikipedia or history or how-tos, things like that. Whereas now you can see they're even appearing for relatively commercial intents, like best baby carrier. And the problem is that you have no way of tracking this. Now, if you are Ergo Baby, it's great for you that you appear on that AI answer, and that's locked in my brain, and maybe I then go directly to your site, or maybe I visit a store, but I have no way of knowing whether that's providing any value. The article that was used to cite that is performing. So it's a problem and a solution. Well, a good thing at the same time. So this isn't just based on vibes. This is based on some research we've done. We looked at over 300,000 keywords, and we found that where AI overviews have appeared in the last year, you're seeing a 34% reduction in click-through rates compared to last year. When AI appears, we can predict the CTR drops from 0.04 to 0.02 is the actual numbers there, in case you're wondering. And this is a massive impact, particularly for big websites across the web. I would say, again, this is just a take. I think that older generations, myself included, people who are maybe above 34, are more inclined to click and look at the actual link. Okay, what's the source? Particularly if you work in SEO. I think as digital natives grow up with AI overviews, that will become less and less common, and they'll be happy to accept the information at face value. So even just looking at AI overviews, not anything else that Google's rolling out, this is a problem that's only going to continue, and probably the gravity is going to continue to get worse on this. So we know people are discovering you, and we've mentioned AI overviews, but where else are they looking if all this traffic's gone? And the answer, of course, is LLMs. It's interesting because this is our LLM traffic, and you can see it's spiking. And actually, this is now sending us more traffic than Reddit. And this is obviously a massive boon for us. But we're missing a lot of the information that comes with Google over the years. We know we're being discovered, but we're not sure how and why or when. But we know we are getting LLM traffic. We will go into later what actually shows up as direct, but probably as LLM traffic as well. But for now, all we want to say is that LLM traffic is continuing to accelerate, and I'm assuming most of your websites look something similar to this. Maybe not that extreme, but something similar. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if you're seeing the same trend. It's going to be bad if I get a lot of thumbs down. Okay, so what LLMs are these coming from? We did a study, classic Ahrefs. We did a study. 82,000 websites, and ChatGPT dominates that with 83% of all AI chatbot traffic. It's huge market dominance. Now, obviously, I think this will change over time as Perplexity, Claude, etc. start becoming more common. ChatGPT was first to market, but you can't deny they have a very strong foothold, and it would be very hard for any of them to knock them off. Perplexity obviously accounts for 10%, and Copilot is in there as well. But this concentration really means you can focus on 3 or 4 big tools. And I guess within that, there's a range of AI usage. You've got maybe your mom and dad who are just using it to answer basic questions. And then within that, you've got maybe people that are very tech savvy that are setting up their own custom GPTs to do product research or whatever. So there's a lot of gray within that. But the sort of highlight is ChatGPT is a monster in this space already. Now, how do we know this? And the problem is attribution is difficult, right? Attribution is a fuzzy area. Many AI platforms do not pass referral information properly. Traffic from Perplexity or ChatGPT desktop apps often just shows up as direct. Web-based ones, maybe ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, they'll give you the referral element. But what that means is there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of stuff that's just showing up as direct, and we don't have numbers for the sheer volume of searches that are going into ChatGPT. We just know that, if you like, our traffic's going down, our impressions are going up, and there's something missing in the middle, and it looks like this is the culprit. So what does that mean? that means your AI traffic is being vastly underestimated. So it's not all bad news when you're in despair and you see that your search is declining, but your direct is sort of stable and starting to grow. That is likely attributed to people maybe seeing your brand in an AI overview or somewhere else and then going direct, or simply you being a response in ChatGPT and somebody giving it a click. So it's not all bad news. This comes with challenges and opportunities. But what we need to do is measurement. So I guess one of the things I want to address, just because it was interesting in the number, is when you hear about all these brands, I think there's an idea, and everyone knows that ChatGPT, Perplexity, all these big data models, they train on the internet. So obviously, if you have a lot more mentions and you're a big website, it's going to favor you. That's true. But what I want to touch on is that it's also an opportunities for smaller websites. So you can see here that actually traffic by source, LLMs represent a greater amount of traffic for smaller websites than they do for bigger websites. Now, obviously, there's some scale in that makes it relative. But what it means is they are showing up for these websites and they are delivering traffic on a meaningful scale. So what it means that if you are a smaller website and you're small in your game, there is an opportunity for you to win. This is the early days of a whole new search method. And so laying the foundation now is going to be important. You don't have to be a huge website to dominate this space. But it helps, let's be realistic. Okay, so in short, to summarize that, we are looking at AI overviews reducing click-through rate and your traffic, and AI tools citing websites and brands, boosting your traffic. But we have some problem with attribution. So the big question, how do we measure this? And that's where we come into Ahrefs AI visibility tools. That was a bit of a needless slide there, but here we go. Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is brand mentions in AI responses for Brand Radar. So the first tool I'm going to go to here is Brand Radar. Now I'm going to touch on the fact that you have 5 data sets here. If you are on a light plan, you'll get access to search demand and web visibility. AI overviews, ChatGPT and Perplexity are paid add-ons, but you can do a lot with this alone. So let me just load this up. Okay, so as we said, I think before we go into AI overviews, something I want to touch about on web visibility. Your mentions, you're looking for your mentions across AI overviews. And how do you work that out? Well, AI tools train themselves on the web's database, right? So if you don't have good exposure on the web, aka this in particular index here, you're not going to expose in the other. So what we're going to look at here is your competitive score, how often are you mentioned, and then we're going to look at, are you mentioned in the right terms? So if somebody in the chat would like to give me a brand, this is always an experiment. If it's a niche brand, it might be hard, but give me a brand that we will search for web visibility. Okay, what we got? No takers? Can be any brand. Last time we did this, somebody mentioned WordPress. Live it up. Alert Media, Patagonia, Revolve. Okay. I don't know what Elgato is. I know what Patagonia is. Campfire Treats, Bathify. Okay, I'm gonna pick one and roll the dice. Let's go for Patagonia. We can do another one when we do AI overviews. So first of all, we're going to enter our brand here, and this is, as I'd like to remind you, in web visibility. So what we're looking to establish here is across all of the web, well, within our index, whatever it's 17 billion pages, how many brand mentions do we get? Now, this is nothing without some comparative data. So let's look at, let's use the suggest more to generate some competitors. Let's get rid of Marmot because the animals show up. Arctrix, okay. So what this is going to show us, without a graph for some reason, is mentions over time. So here we can see the spike. We can see North Face had a massive spike. Sometimes this is when they do a press release, or sometimes it's actually just when they release a new part of the website and we crawl it more. But so North Face is in strong first position, Patagonia in second. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that as cumulative to give us a better idea of the competitive score. So here we can see when you're looking at your website, okay, particularly when you're looking at your own niche competitors, across the training data that LLMs have, how well or how often do I appear? It's a good starting point. If you're really low in this, it's a problem. You probably need to start producing more content, and we'll talk about meaningful content later. Now, the second one you want to know is because of the way LLMs train, they have this thing called semantic relativeness or similarity, semantic similarity. If your competitors show up in a list and you don't, that's a problem. Because what you want is when somebody says to ChatGPT, hey, give me the 5 best outdoor jackets, and if it's mentioning Arc'teryx, Mountain Hardwear, because it recognizes Patagonia and as semantically similar, it should prompt that as well. So what we want to do then is find times where it mentions, let's just put down, let's put all of these, mentions all of these, but does not contain Patagonia. Now what you would do here, now this is the web, this is not AI prompts, but you'd be looking at the type of content that you're being mentioned in here, and you'd either produce your own or you reach out to them, because it's really important that you appear. See, there's only 34 results out of thousands, so actually the scale of this isn't that bad. Your Patagonia are pretty well set up. But if it was the other case where this was thousands, it would suggest that there's a problem, and it's not, you're not setting yourself up for victory in the AI overviews. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Another thing we'd want to talk about is maybe the category. So let's say the Patagonia. Again, this is to do with training the LLMs and semantic similarity. So what we've established now here is the scope of our mentions, how big we are, competitively, where we are in the market. We understand, are we mentioned in the same topics as our competitors, as particularly important ones? And now we want to say, okay, are we mentioned in the right categories? So let's say for here, I don't know, maybe like, let's say, I'm trying to think of something a bit more specific, because they will show up for lots of this. Hiking. And maybe you would go into the filters here where it contains Patagonia, and it contains hiking, which will not be a hard ask, I would imagine. Now again, you have to imagine you've got a more specific topic, so maybe Ahrefs and something new for us like AI overviews, where you notice that actually the correlation between us and AI overviews in the tool is not very high. That's a problem. If it was very high, we're doing well. So that basically what we're trying to do with this, looking at web mentions, is we're trying to evaluate the foundations that we're building on, because AI and LLMs are going to use this to generate their answers, particularly new ones. Okay, so next we will move on to AI overviews. Right, would somebody else like to suggest a new brand? I feel like Patagonia was a bit easy. There's so much on it, but we don't want to go too niche for this live demo. Don't want me scrambling around trying to get the data to work. It's Megan. I love Ahrefs. Thank you. We love it too. The web visibility is a really unique feature to us, and it's really cool because it is what LLMs are trained on. So if you can analyze that successfully, then you can step one more up the funnel and then look at AI overviews and start to optimize for that, but you can't really get one without the other. Nintendo. Thank you, Matt. Nice, simple. Although I don't think their latest console is doing particularly well. Atari, Capcom, that's a bit odd. Let's go for something a little bit. We will put in Capcom as well. Okay. So again, looking at, so now we're on to AI overviews, and this is the next step up. So we're looking to measure, we know we're being mentioned, but we just can't track it. But how much are we being mentioned? So we want to know the impact. Again, here, if we are Nintendo, we can see that compared to Xbox and PlayStation, actually we're pretty well mentioned, but we are, I put Capcom in there, but we are the third runner in this particular race. And then we can go down and we can start to see the type of prompts and responses that are coming up in Google's AI overviews, Street Fighter 6 sales. And again, what we can do here is the exact same thing as we did before. We want to see, where is PlayStation, Xbox, let's get rid of Capcom, where are those two mentioned, but Nintendo is not. It does not contain, let's go for all. Now this is particularly useful in AI overviews because again, we're looking to work out a semantic similarity. Why are we not appearing? What are the prompts that are showing up? Now in this case, it might be, yeah, okay, who is Xbox or PS3 release, things that we don't want to, but it might be more niche things like Monster Hunter cross-platform. If that is cross-platform, we should probably be appearing there. Again, you're gonna have to use your imagination to make this relevant to your company. Okay, one other thing I'd like to touch on. Let's say, so in here you don't just need to search brands, you can search topics as well. So let's say adventure travel is your topic. You know, whatever you want to relate to your business. Suggest more. What else we got? Backpacking, ecotourism. Okay, let's search these. This is a really good way to work out what is the most popular term that's being mentioned, particularly if you've got a range of different things in your company and people express things slightly differently. You can pick one. Also, when you have this, it's really interesting to look at the kind of questions that prompt Reddit, or how many they have. So here we're trying to analyze, again, the mentions, impact, how strong are they, what are the top ranking topics within AI overviews, and now here we want to see is how many link to Reddit. Now what this can tell you is if out of the 8,000, 4,000 have a Reddit link, it would suggest pretty strongly that you want to have a strong place on Reddit. And that doesn't mean I would say you go in and pretend to be a normal user and then just plug your company. No, it's a terrible idea. But have a Reddit, have a subreddit of your own that's branded, invite questions, answer them honestly, and try and grow a bit of a presence, because clearly it's very helpful and that will affect how people talk about you. But obviously, as you know, Reddit can go very badly when done poorly. Okay, I should mention that you can do these for any country. If you put in Spain, let's say, if you put in a brand, you'll just get the language off that. So let's say you put in Nike, for example, you'll get Spanish language results, but you can sometimes get a popular English result as well in Spain. But yeah, you can filter by any country to see your data set. And just for fun, let's go to Perplexity, and I will take one more Webflow. Okay, I see one more Webflow. Let's see what's happening with Webflow, what's being suggested. Figma, Shopify, Squarespace. Okay, yeah. Let's see what they've got. And you see the data is a little bit thinner here because it's brand new. But again, what we're seeing is the country. What is a CMS? And what's really cool here, and I think this is something that will probably develop into a feature at some point, is looking at how your brand is mentioned. Again, we're talking about LLMs, as we know, are just prediction machines. They're just looking at what's the next predictable work. So we want to look at what are the words that are surrounding your brand. Okay, in some cases it can be a description. This is not a great example. Include WebEx. Okay, so many platforms offer storage included, like Wix. So you know that if somebody's going to ask a question about platforms with storage included, Wix will show up. And it's a case of also documenting the way you're described. That's going to basically build what we would call your AI positioning. Okay, so we have covered web visibility, the training data, AI overviews, how you're showing up in Google, and then a little bit about ChatGPT and Perplexity. I should mention you can, on AI overviews, dictate whether this is just in the overview or the keyword, and you can also dictate whether the term shows up in the content, the URL, or the header. Okay. Patrick, great. Any plans to bundle AI options together in Brown Radar? I know that we're still in discussions as to how we package this. It's early days, but I don't have any concrete information to tell you right now about how we're going to bundle this at the moment. Okay. So do we have any immediate questions on AI overviews, web, Perplexity, ChatGPT, or stuff we can always field at the end? Nope, nothing popping up here. Okay. Let's move on to a brand new feature that we have released called AI Citations. There's not really too much to it at this point, but it's a really great way to get a snapshot of your competitor's presence in AI or your own. So if you have a verified website, even on a free plan, you will see this for your verified website. Other than that, it's available for paid plans. And if you actually want to see the ChatGPT information, you have to have the ChatGPT add-on. So, for example, you're seeing here citations. And this is an important distinction. These are not mentions. These are citations. What does that mean? It means that your website is being linked as a source, or your website entirely is being linked as the answer. So it's a little bit different, a little bit, if you like, more concrete than just a mention. So we're moving sort of down the funnel. We've discussed all the things you can do with mentions, and now we're looking at citations. It's really cool. This just takes you to the corresponding report, which again is a great way to look at the keywords they are scoring for. You can see all the different links here that, in this case, HubSpot are scoring for, and again I would look at how they're being mentioned, and then you can play about with the competitors once you're in there. Okay, just reading through. AI overviews are not exportable yet, I don't believe. No, they are not. Okay, so that covers our AI citations block within Site Explorer. Again, all you need is a verified website, and it will show you this as an overview. But let's go to our next one, as we are almost at half an hour. Traffic from links shared by AI, traffic from AI bots, web analytics. Okay, so we know that they are sending traffic, as we mentioned with the citations. There are LLMs sending traffic directly to your website. How do we track this? Now, we have a lovely web analytics tool. It's free to use. It's much lighter script than Google. It's also, the data is a lot faster. I think we return data in like 5 minutes, I think it is. And whereas Google Analytics takes about 24 to 48 hours to process it. So it's a lot faster. And we deliberately built it to be a little bit simpler, to be honest with you. But we're constantly working on it. We've just added funnels, so you can do quite a lot with it. But today we are talking about AI search. Now, to find this in our tool is wonderfully simple. There's just an AI search channel source. I think you can do this in Google Analytics with some configuration, but here, you just have it set out. And you click here and you'll see your sources, and it'll break it down by the main LLMs that are providing providing traffic, and you can see the pages they're driving it to. So if we, pick, let's just say ChatGPT, what are the pages that are doing really well? Homepage, and then a few specific tools or blogs, which is pretty cool. Let's go back, because what also you can do, it's not so useful at the moment, but you can compare. Let's just share and compare to search and direct. You can compare your AI search to your direct and your search, so you can see when this is coming up over time. And you can also get some information about bounce rate, visit duration. I think Google released Google staff released a thing saying that visitors coming from AI sources or overviews or ChatGPT are higher quality. Certainly the data doesn't support it at this stage, but we don't really have a lot to go off. But what this does mean is over time you can track that, and particularly if you're seeing your search go down and you're seeing your AI search come up, that's a really good way to show that your work is not in vain and it's being offset. Any questions on the traffic sources? Timothy, sorry, what are LLMs? LLMs are large large language models. It's an AI. It's what ChatGPT and everything is. It's how they give you answers. It's just another word for an AI chat. Some pricing tweaks. Okay. Any other questions about web analytics before we move on? I can see there's a lot of people getting in there with the questions. Okay, moving on. So, how do you track your own keywords? How are they impacted? And particularly, what about keywords that aren't in our index? If you've got super specific keywords, they're almost definitely not going to be in Brand Radar yet because that index is relatively new. So we recommend doing that in Rank Tracker. Let me pull up the correct tab. Here we go. So this is our Rank Tracker tool. Most of you that have used Ahrefs for a while will be very familiar with it. This is where you're putting in all your keywords and you're tracking their position over time. Now, what else is cool is if you're seeing a drop in your traffic, it could be related to the amount of AI overviews in your keywords or important keywords or all your keywords. So what you can do here is you can go to SERP features, which is at the bottom of the overview, and you click on AI overviews, and it's going to tell you, oh, I've just undone that. It's going to tell you of all the keywords that you're tracking, how many of them have an AI overview in their SERP, and then how many of them do you own. So I guess whether you own the SERP or whether you not, you're going to see a traffic drop. But if you don't own the SERP, that's much worse. So here you can see that we are currently at 7 total and 4 owned. And you also see that they're not constant. Google is experimenting. So if you go to the keyword list here, this is a little thing that says, it tells you the type of SERP feature. You can see there's an AI overview. Here you can see we actually lost an AI overview. A bit of context, this is our help articles, so it's not like normal competition you'd see in a SERP, but it serves for the purpose of this demonstration. So if you were to click on this, we will automatically compare with a previous SERP. And what you can see, there used to be an AI overview that we held, and now we actually, this is the same article that would have appeared in position 2 and the AI overview. We lost it, but now we just have position 1. This is more interesting, obviously, in the case where you lose the AI overview and a competitor then takes it, and you start to look at their content and what they've done right. So that covers tracking your own keywords that have AI overviews to understand the impact, particularly if you've got, keywords that are contributing, maybe in some cases 5-6% of your entire traffic if you've got really important ones, and then all of a sudden an AI overview pops up. That can be responsible for a big dive in traffic. But what if you have really long tail niche keywords that just don't show up in Brand Radar? Quite simple. You add them to Keyword Tracker. You can do so. For example, maybe we had something super specific like how to use Brand Radar. I think it was the one Constance suggested. Just add the keyword here, and then depending on what plan you're on, either in a few days or in a week, depending on how often they update. That keyword would appear here, and you'd be able to track the same whether it's an AI overview or not. Really useful for long tail keywords specific to you that are maybe very close to purchase as well. So any sort of intents that you know around your business that are people looking for a solution, but aren't obviously obvious to the standard buyer. Okay, that covers Rank Tracker. Do we have any questions? I see Michelle is on fire in the chat, covering most of the questions, which is great. Okay, we will move on. Okay, so let's recap what we've covered. You're getting mentions but less traffic. Okay, you can track its impact by looking at web visibility. Do you have the foundations good enough to actually show up in AI chats? If so, where? Are you featuring in the right kind of articles? Are you featuring next to the right kind of terms? If that's a yes, then you move on to AI overviews. Okay, we're in AI overviews. Let's get specific. What are they saying about us? What brands are we showing up next to? Are we appearing for the right topics? Then you do a topic search. Are the topics that we are betting on? Let's say it's I don't know, summer hikes. Are summer hikes trending, or no? It's actually autumn walks. You know, you can start to build a picture of the trending topics as well as your mentions. Then off the back of that, we went and looked at, okay, so we've covered mentions pretty clearly. We're then looking at the traffic to our website, pretty simple with our web analytics tool. Again, I'll mention it's free. And even there, you can sort of reverse engineer what's working by looking at the pages that are getting traffic for that. We know it's not perfect because of referral issues, but it's pretty close at the moment, or as close as we're going to get for any of the competition out there. And then rank tracker is the way that you are seeing AI overviews impacted on keywords that are very important to you and ones that maybe we don't have in our index or brand radar. Okay, so that leads us on to the big $1 million question. How do you get mentioned more by AI? Now, this is not the main topic of this conversation, but we will give you some snippets of findings and then send on some information after. So, first thing, sounds obvious, don't block LLM crawlers, but you'd be amazed. Now, obviously, this is a personal choice. Sometimes there's a lot of strain on your site and you have to make a decision. In fact, we see that ChatGPT and Claude, a CCB bot, are getting blocked by nearly 6% of top traffic sites. That might not sound like much, but it's a massive shift, particularly how publishers work. And there's this, obviously, idea that you want to gate your content so that ChatGPT isn't giving it away for free. And there are circumstances where that might be correct. But for most of us, we are kind of, let's say, putting up blockers for ourselves. So blocking these crawlers, I always like to think, it's like closing your shop door because you're worried about window shoppers. You know they're not going to buy now, but they might show up in the future. What you're doing by blocking LLM crawlers is well, first of all, they've already crawled your site. They know the basics, but you're blocking them from new information. So if you change your information about your brand or your product, or you have got great content, you're not letting them in. So really you're stopping yourself answering the questions that might be useful to your users and being included in the shortlist. And I think it was a really good product marketer that said that the main problem brands are going to have now isn't fighting for who's got the better features. It's showing up in the initial shortlist because so many people are going to do their initial spec on AI tools. So it's not a perfect system, but it is an opportunity. By letting AIs in there, you're improving your visibility and you're giving it access to your fresh content, which is obviously your most recent products and positioning. Okay. But there is obviously a little bit of LLMs kind of ignore your blocks anyway. We wrote an article on that. I think Michelle can share it. They're not the most adherent to your LMM.txt. So don't block crawlers if they're not breaking your site, that is. Next up, okay, here we looked at what correlated to showing up in Perplexity, ChatGPT AI overviews, what factors were highly influential. It might not surprise you, but it's about creating deep, comprehensive content. So look at the correlation of the data for ChatGPT AI overviews. And it's very clear that word count and sentence count are really important. Now, that doesn't just mean long words and count sentences. That means that AI tools like depth. Okay? In reversely, the Flesch score, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, which is a readability score, shows a negative correlation, which actually might suggest that more sophisticated content actually performs better, more academic content, no surprising. And finally, domain rating. It favors content from highly authoritative sources. No surprises there. I think the key insight is that the basics don't really change. Google spent a long time trying to work out what was good content, and AI isn't going to overwrite that anytime soon. So writing deep, authoritative content is still going to work. Interestingly, if you look at the bottom of that chart, you'll see things like backlinks and keyword count are actually negatively correlated. Again, we would take this with a pinch of salt, but what it means is that it's not like a traditional search engine result where, you know, the one with 1,000 backlinks is going to show up. ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI overviews, they're looking for different factors. That doesn't mean they're worthless. It just means that they are not, if you like, at the top tier of factors they are looking at when analyzing content. Now, this is a very early space. This is very early studies. This might change, but I think saying generating well thought out, well researched content is going to be the future. Think less top tips, think more everything you need to know backed by data and experience. Those short articles or top tips or those quick how-tos, ChatGPT can write that itself. What it can't do is write things from industry experts where you can cite them or leading or brand new stats. That's where you're going to add a lot of value. So no hacks there, but interesting to know. And I think this is summed up really well by our CEO, Tim Sulu. So he shared that we got 14,000 new users from ChatGPT, and the kicker is we didn't do anything special for ChatGPT. Now, I know you're saying Ahrefs has a big content team and we've worked hard at it for a long time. That's true, but what we're saying is that all that work we did in content really translated over well to this new AI era. Now, there will be challenges we face, but in creating great tools for marketers, basically start focusing on the product. Why? Because word of mouth, as it has been for the past 20 years, is still the most powerful tool in any marketer's arsenal. So create something that you're proud of, that people will talk about, and there you're already onto a winning start. We publish tons of content addressing different problems. We wrote really in-depth studies and guides that people then talk about and link to. Again, quality. And then probably finally, as we educate our customers and support them throughout it, so they then become experts and they then start talking about Ahrefs. Again, this is one of the ones in marketing that's always really hard to justify, because marketing is sometimes a numbers game, and you know, how do you justify the value of well, we're going to launch an academy that's going to teach all our customers to be power users, and it's going to take 3 months to build. Sure, I don't want to have that argument either, but if you can start laying the groundwork for these things, it's really good. And I see that Michelle has mentioned Black Hat SEO. You got there ahead of me. So that was Tim's take. Moving on to Ryan's take, who is our director of content. His take is it is just SEO. But I want to add a caveat to that Michelle has just added. We are now, much like the beginning of SEO, the early days, there are tricks and hacks you can use to gamify the system a little bit in your favor. Which we've got an article on called LLM is in its Black Hat era. However, what I would say is that when people built massive, link profiles on private blog networks, or they invested heavily in keyword stuffing, eventually all that content was devalued, or those links were devalued when Google updated. So I would not be surprised if we get to a stage where the same things happened with ChatGPT and Perplexity and they become more sophisticated. So by all means, read about the hacks, enjoy them, maybe even try them, but do not expect them to be the source for long-term success. Like all things, it's about brand first and then quality content. We do not want 10 things an SEO should know. We need an in-depth thing from an SEO who's been in the game for 10 years. That's the kind of twist. And producing them over time will guarantee your success, because quality content is quality content, and it's going to be mentioned in other places. The distribution channels are going to work. So that's within your control and something you should do. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't look at distribution channels and featuring on Reddit, etc. These are all tactics, but the core of, if you like, SEO and content still remains here. That's our take. Like I said, we actually have a YouTube done by my boss, Andre, on how to write high quality content that will rank in AI chats. I think I've got it here. If Michelle, if you could share that in the chat, if you can find it, that's a really good one as well to look at. And the caveat is to end all this dialogue, this diatribe, is that AI traffic is still a small slice of the whole pie. For now, we look at these numbers: search, direct, social. They're 85, 86% for search and direct alone. LM's is 0.1. Now this number is going to grow, and obviously we have a lot of unknowns with Google's Pure AI going to be coming in as well. But for the time being, it's not panic stations. It's double down in good quality content, high quality writing. Think about your presence and mentions and how you're being mentioned, but it's not panic stations yet. And you should be able to measure the impact and grow your visibility on AI. Right, that brings us to time on the large chunk of this webinar. So we have about 10 minutes where I can field your questions. Let's see. All right, we'll have a look and see what's in here. Okay. Okay, folks. Michelle, you have been on fire, as I don't see any unanswered questions yet. Let's see, Patrick. Okay, folks, there was a little bit of a lag on the chat, but if you have any final questions, we can address them. I see you, Michelle. I think it's all just a bit hazy. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of tools. Even as a build, there are some unknowns, but what we do know is that particularly things like how your brand is mentioned and the words that surround your brand are very important. And you want to control that as much as possible and put out content that basically, how do we say, presents your brand, your products in the light that you want for the correct terms that you want. And then if it's very authoritative and very good, you'd hope that others will pick it up and they will rewrite it. If not, you can invest in actual partnerships where you can get people to write about your brand and that content as well. Distribution is going to be key as well. One thing worth asking, how are you thinking internally about the personalization aspect? Let's see. Patrick, assuming you're talking about personalization, you are referring to the fact that ChatGPT will take into account your previous chats and serve you answers based on that. As far as I'm aware, we're treating it like Google, in that we are the average user who has nothing and we will give you the average response. So the actual response itself is more of a bellwether than it is an exact, because everyone will be different. I would add to that, though, is that most people are free. Most people have that use ChatGPT. Most ChatGPT users are free. Therefore, these results are probably a lot closer to what they see than a paid user, and they are the bulk of the audience. I hope that answers your question. Is it fair to say that AI works a little bit like traditional PR? Yeah, Theory Digital, I think it's not dissimilar. There's a lot of agencies pushing now digital PR, so providing mentions in authoritative websites. I think the only difference is it's not just a mention, it's that you want to be mentioned with your specific positioning, and then you want to get even narrower, like if you have a product within your suite, you want that mentioned. So it's probably, I would say it's a cross between partnerships and digital PR, but yeah, there's a very big crossover in that. Let's see. Yes. Gordon McCallum, can you only get free user data, not paid ChatGPT data? Correct. Gordon, I would assume that's the case, but I will double check that with our devs. But yeah, I would think that's a fair assumption to make. I don't think they're going to give us access to the individual queries of paid accounts. But I will double check that, and I can follow up with you. There you go, Michelle's on it. I'm assuming we're talking about Patrick, the Oracle, the man who sees everything coming. If he's on it, don't worry, we'll have a fix very soon. Okay, let's see. I'm just going through the rest of the question. Is there an API for Ahrefs analytical tools to plug into a dashboard, for example? Yes, we do have an API, and we have an integration with Looker as well, that you can build a Looker dashboard. I'm sure Michelle can send over our documents about what endpoints we have and what data you can extract for now. I hope at some point there will be a search console tool for LLMs, even if it's just... Yeah, that would be very helpful, particularly if we can integrate it with Ahrefs. I think this is the way it's going. That's what everyone wants to get. But this is the early days, and I think there's a little bit of panic with SEOs, but if anything, it's a big opportunity. We are now, again, in the Wild West of search. So there's a lot of opportunities to lay some solid foundations for further growth. Okay. Great chat, guys. Really active in it. I'm going to see if we can save this. Some really good suggestions. Some really good questions as well. If there is nothing else, we can wrap up. I'll give you 30 seconds to put in your last question. Anything pending? And it looks like we will finish. Oh, we got one in. Oh, that's Michelle. Oh, great. Okay. Well, folks, we're going to wrap up, and you will get 5 minutes back. Thank you so much for your questions and time. You've been amazing. And yeah, if you have any questions that we didn't address, or any follow-ups that's got your brain ticking, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on LinkedIn. Just search my name. And yeah, we'll be happy to field your questions and follow-up. So once again, thank you very much, and have a lovely evening and or day. Bye, folks.